Hello, welcome. This is Touchpoint. This is the platform where we have no hold barred conversation on critical national issues. Today, we're going to be looking at the trending issue around the 2027 government in Ogun State. It's called Egba Agenda. And I will be interacting with the chairman of that forum. He is Chief Mustafa Abdul Hakim Owolabi. It's good to have you on the show.
The pleasure.
How do you start it? Baisi.
Wow.
What is the rationale behind this your project?
Well, is it a project? Is it a movement? Is it a forum? People have given it different connotation. Egba agenda simply means what Egba people want. We all want good roads. We all want electricity. We all want quality 21st century education. We all want ubiquitous or massive food production in Ogun State. We want good things, and being the capital or seat of power for the state, we deserve a little more than what we are getting. And that is part of what we are advocating for. And as a forum, an organization called Egba Agenda, one of our capital objectives is to have an Egba man at the helm of affairs after the 8 years of Prince Dapo Abiodun.
Now, let's begin to put them into proper perspective. You said different people have given different connotation. What is the right connotation?
Egba Agenda.
Is it a movement or a forum?
All of the above.
Okay. Now, are you saying that it's only an Egba man that will give you all of these things that you are agitating for?
No, that would be a little bit of abrogating some form of arrogance to yourself. We know something, that people will take care, the majority of people will take care of the majority. And as it stands today, Egba people are still the majority in the state called Ogun State.
If it's not only an Egba man that can provide all these amenities that you talked about, why are you not considering the interest of the people of Yewa part of this who are saying, we haven't been governor, we want to be?
Yeah. So I'm going to say that I'm going to answer that question in twofold. I don't have a problem with the Yewa governor. I just want an Egba man or woman to be governor.
Why?
And as a sub-ethnic group, I think there's a freedom to do that in the fora that we operate. Now, remember, it's still going to be left for the political party to pick who will be candidates from each party before we, the general public, have a say in what we are talking about. So, what the forum is about, majorly, apart from advocating for our sons or daughter to be the governor, we are also investing massively in what they call voters' education, voter orientation, and for people to understand the issues that affect their life. We are trying to reorientate people about the consequences of vote buying, vote selling, and vote rigging. So it's a lot more than, I know people, narrow it down and make it a single issue. It is not single for us. It is a multifactorial issues, and we are dealing with one after the other. But you guys in the press like the one that's more sensational. It's easy to say, oh, Egba said Egba local. So what happened to the rest of them? No, we said we have abundance. We have in abundance quality, material or human capital that could occupy the house and do wonders. And as persons, Yoruba say, we say we have enough children. So the other people are going to advocate. I'm sure the Yoruba people are advocating. I've seen it, that you are local. And as it stands today, and the Ijebu is still running 2027. So nobody is stopping anyone, but we are sensitizing our people that at this time, we have enough. We have enough persons. Let me give you an example. I've said it on different fora. In the current government, the way it is, we have 3 non-politicians at the helm of as ministers. We have the minister, the coordinating minister of economy, the finance minister, Wale Edu. We have Jumoke Oduwole, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. Then we have Dr. Bosun Tijani. Those are not politicians. They pick them based on what they've got in terms of pedigree, in terms of qualification, in terms of integrity. That's why they pick them. They didn't pick them because they were APC or PDP member. I'm even sure some of them did not even vote for the president. But they still pick them. But remember, they are Egbas. Egba people is the only race in this country, or what they call ethnic group, I'm sorry, that has produced Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. We have the likes of MKO that won June 12 election, even though he was denied the presidency. And then we've had the like of Ernest Shonekan that ascended to the top of the affairs of Nigeria. So what I'm saying is that we are blessed.
Okay.
As a group. And I'm sure other tribes, other sub-ethnic groups are also blessed, but everybody have the right to advocate for his own son or daughter.
Very quickly, before we continue, I'd like you to educate me a little. Who amongst these three that you mentioned did not vote for the president, and you had got this slot of ministerial position?
Okay. Well, I'm telling you that vote is in the heart. I'm saying, because some of them are not even the politicians, and you know there is apathy. And I'm using that as a general term, not in specific.
Okay.
For instance, let me clarify that, because for the news take it that said the minister didn't vote for. INEC registered about 94 million people to vote in the election. Adult population in Nigeria is over 150 million. The total number of people that decided the election are less than 25 million people. Do the math. A lot of elite, a lot of people did not vote. Not necessarily our minister from Egba, but some people did not vote.
It's okay. Now let's move on. Now, I like the fact that you have mentioned that you have in abundance quality persons you feel can actually take over the leadership of Ogun State in 2027. And I also like the fact that you referenced Yewa Lokon, and one figure that is at the forefront, not only in Yewa but across Ogun State, is nicknamed Yayi. Tell me, of all these people, these resourceful persons you talked about from Ogun Central, who amongst them do you think has this clout, politically, financially, and otherwise?
You see, that's where we get it mixed up. Politics is a lot more than that. If I run for election against the person you mentioned, I'll beat him.
How?
In Ogun State. It's about talking to the people, talking to the issues.
You think you can talk to them more than he does?
I can. And if you look at the three people I've mentioned, I'm giving you an example. I'm not running for anything. I'm just an advocate at this time. The people we have mentioned have what I call undamaged credibility. Most politicians have damaged credibility. When the politics come, everybody will put their cards on the table. The person you've mentioned will be asked to come and speak.
What damage do you think is got?
Let me tell you, I don't want to reference him in particular because I'm not campaigning, so I can't be throwing shot at a senator.
No, I've not asked you to. I'm just asking questions.
See, if you've been in government for as long as he's been, he will have questions to answer. He was part of Buhari as Bishop. People ask him questions. What did he do? They will ask everybody that's been part of this government for this long. And I'm going to use a general statement. The elite of this nation has failed us. Most of these people that are over 50 that are elite, they fail this nation. Most of them enjoy quality primary, secondary, and tertiary education. Which of them will send their kid to public school now? None. That is a failure of leadership of all of them combined together, no exception. So when you talk about sitting people down and asking them questions, they have a lot of questions to answer. He was there. A lot of them has been in government. So they will have to answer for what they have done. And let me tell you something. Legislative experience is good. Executive experience is good. But the best thing in politics and policy is judgment. Government is the largest not-for-profit organization. That is why majority of government are running deficit. No government has been established to make profit because there are people they have to care for. You have to care for the weak, the sick, the vulnerable among us.
It's okay. Then let's come back to your project. I like calling it project, or if you like, movement. There is absolutely no way, in my opinion, you will be running this without. MK Abiola said, "To shave my hair, you need my presence. That to do otherwise will be exercising futility." The symbol of authority in Egba land is the Alaki. Does this your movement have his backing?
Alake will support anything that allow for progress of Egba people. But the movement is not inclusive of the Alake of Egba land, or except any other chiefs that volunteer want to be part of it. It is not a movement that emanated from the palace. It is a people's movement.
Now, this movement seems to be, I don't want to use the word dead on arrival. It's already divided, is a house already divided against itself. And if such happens, the center will no longer hold. Between you and Professor Yemi Oke, who is in charge of this project?
Nobody is in charge of Egba people, but the Egba people. That's a simple and short answer. No one is in charge of Egba, but the Egba people.
Who are the Egbas who are in the forefront of this project?
Yomi Oke, you mentioned, is an Egba man. I am an Egba man. All other people that attend meetings in local government, in wards, about this movement, they are Egba people. They are the people. See, when you have a movement, it could be faceless. That's what people don't understand. The revolution that has started will not be televised.
But my challenge here, or my concern, I beg your pardon here, is that even before we approach the 2027, election, there seem to be, divided interest. We read where the prof is said to have been, suspended. We also learned from him that he's actually the brain behind it, and he had actually suspended someone like you. So where do we properly situate things now?
The organization you are talking about is called Egba Agenda. Who can suspend anybody from an Egba agenda? Who owns it? Nobody. We're talking about Egba people. So who has the right to suspend anyone from a movement that is about good education, good infrastructure, good electricity, provision of food, repair of our moribund healthcare facility? Suspension for what? That they say they don't want that value, or what? So when people talk about suspension, no individual can be a group. It's a collective will of the people. So they might appoint a symbol, like I was appointed a chairman. They have the right to say, you are no longer our chairman, and there are procedures in organization. You have to form a committee. You have to say what the person did wrong. I don't want to use me because I was never suspended by anyone. You see, people think when they open platforms and they use their number, they can block access and remove access. Does that mean that person ceases to be an Egba person? Does that mean the movement dies? We were at the meeting not too long ago with the people from all the 20 local government. So I don't understand where, you see, there are things we do on digital media that doesn't stand the test of time. So I'm not going to comment about, I didn't know he was suspended. I don't know anybody suspended me. Nobody gave me a letter of suspension. The people who formed the committee together have never called a meeting to say they wanted to review the membership or the leadership of the committee. So where does the suspension come from?
Are you by any means insinuating that even the prof was never suspended?
I don't know who suspended him. I can't tell you. See, I don't say things I don't know.
But as a chairman,
I was never at a meeting where he was suspended, and I was never at a meeting where anyone, for that matter, in Egba agenda was suspended.
So by your understanding and going by your position as chairman, Professor Oke was never suspended?
Not to my knowledge. I never signed anything that suspended him.
Okay. Now let's move on again. There is very clear indication that the sizable number of Egba sons and daughters have actually aligned with Yewalukon agenda. How do you intend to galvanize everyone that has Egba blood in his or her system to key into this your concept?
You see, you cannot have 100% consensus. You have 50 columnists. You have people that believe in what some people believe that for fairness, equity, or whatever it is, they want to do this. But I will point you to one thing. The last election we had in Ogun State, one, I believe it's a barrister, B. Egba came out. One of the prominent figure backing that candidate was Senator Ibikule Amosu, who you cannot just rubbish in Ogun State policy. He was a former governor. So you can see people like that stand up for Yewa. So we, the Egba, did that consistently. So that's why I don't understand where the noise is coming from. General Luri was once sponsored or advocated for or put forward by General Olusegun Obasanjo, and he campaigned vigorously for him. He did not succeed. Then you have people like Akinlade. You understand? Then you have BOT, then you have GNI. And in the forefront, at the forefront of all these folks when they were running was Egba people. I will give you an example. If you check the data of the last election we had, B.E. Otegbeye had more votes in Central than from Yewa. And it's from Yewa. So I said we are brothers and we look out for each other. My agenda is not arrogancy. We are not doing our own agenda because of arrogancy of power. We are saying we have always supported other sub-ethnic groups. At this time, we want to occupy the State House and we want their buy-in. At the meeting we held about a week ago, we have people from Yewa, from Ado-Odota. We have people all over the place. So they are likely to have people that are in Central also. I'm not against that. But at the end of the day, Egba man or woman will emerge as the governor of Ogun State.
I've heard people say that when people are very tenacious on political, issues like this, that certainly is going to do with the exchange of money. To get you into this project, how much were you paid?
By who?
By whoever.
If I remember correctly, I'm the single largest donor to the organization. So who is going to give me money when I'm the one? I mean, at least for what we have spent so far, from the day this thing was conceived, I've spent more than any other human being on this project.
You might be investing and hoping to reap when a candidate eventually emerge. Now, so tell me, if you're speaking to a candidate who wants to take advantage of your platform going forward, how much will you be asking for?
In terms of what?
Naira and Kobo.
No, I don't deal with Naira and Kobo. I deal with that in my business. Look, I'm in my 50s and I'm already retired. So I'm okay. I don't do more than myself. That is why I have extra income to spend on a project like this. I campaign vigorously. The bosses outside that I made for Prince Abiodun, ask them. I've never been out there asking for appointment. Never. In fact, he probably will meet me I've never been to his office. See, I'm about good government. I've experienced good government. I know what it's like. I'm ashamed of what is currently happening in our nation. That is my stake in it. I have a lot to contribute. We have a 10-point agenda. I'll give it to you. Some of them are what I've mentioned. When you buy something, you have no right to ask for it back. We're trying to reorientate our people. Every 10,000 naira a politician spends on a family, they end up paying about 3 million plus in terms of poor education, bad road, lack of electricity, lack of employment, poor food or sanitation, all kinds of things. But you see, the psychic, they've driven so many people into poverty that whenever the gladiator come and start spending money, you see, one of the things you mentioned, you didn't talk about would-be candidate or the gladiator as somebody with this dexterity, personality, whatever you say, he's got the resources. What do you mean by resources? Money. And people don't ask them, where do you get this money from? They just take it. That's why we have a lot of 419ers. We have a lot of kidnappers, because we as a nation, as people, we glorify money over all other things.
You said you campaigned for Prince Abiodun.
Of course, the boss is outside.
Now take a look at his government so far. How you rate the government and his performance?
You see, I usually do something. I try not to look back in hindsight. I try to look to the future. Prince Abiodun will be judged according to posterity. We might look at it and say, well, it's not doing too good right now. It's not doing this. But hopefully we have a better government. As bad as things are now, some people in some quarters are saying Buhari is way better than what we had. But they forgot one thing. The man came in, that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, campaigned vigorously to get this power. they gave it to him, and he squandered all his political capital on removal of subsidy. He knew what we don't know. He said, okay, listen to me. He said, from day one, subsidy is gone. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have supported that. But he knew what he was doing, because at that time, the nation was rising. We were happy. We have a new president. So the capital he had that he could have preserved to do other things, he took a very painful, even for me, it's a very painful decision. When I start to buy my fuel for my small car from 12,000 to 70,000, that thing bites hard. If I use SUV that I usually pay about 15, 20, 18,000, and then I have to pay like 80,000, that stuff bites. But the man believed at that time the nation is clamoring for something new. And rather than just enjoying the capital, he said, well, I will use this to effect this change. And today, the country is saving some money. We have money to invest in other things. So when I look at issue, I don't look at it just right then. I look at what posterity will say about a person.
Okay, I'm going to go back to President Bola Tinubu in the course of this conversation, even if it's at the last lap. Okay. But I'd like to speak a little more about the government of President Abiodun that you actually campaigned for. Mm-hmm. Straight on, I'd like you to tell me what you have seen. Are you impressed or you have a regret?
Well, I cannot say regret. You see, when I was campaigning for him, I listened to him speak at one of the fora that I was part of. And because he has what they call business background, I always tell people, government does not create jobs. The private sector creates jobs. The government function or duty is to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. And that's when we talk about infrastructure. He emphasized that at one of the fora, that he was going to bring about airports, he was going to fix our road, he's going to allow businesses to come in. He was traveling and doing a lot of things. And in fairness to him, he opened a bunch of industrial corridor, which of course people work there today. Is it enough? I don't think so. We can always do better. You know, like we always say something about spectators are the best footballer on the field. So they know what they meant. They know what they are working on. That's why I always rely on posterity. But really, in terms of employment, he has been able to create enough some industrial corridor that have started production. When you go to Shagami Internship, you see them all the way. The only thing I will have added is to create a transport that take people from major city to that place and back.
If the hands of time could be rolled back, would you have campaigned for him again?
Compared to what we had, yes.
Oh, really?
Compared to what we had, yes. Because, see, election, people don't understand, is the lesser of the two evils, unfortunately. Nobody is perfect. But based on the manifesto presented to us and the candidate at the time that's available, you have to make a choice. Or you sit at home, and I'm not the kind that sit at home.
All right, let's come back to Egba agenda. Is it suppose the man that takes over the seat of power in Ogun State in 2027, what should actually be the ultimate consideration? Where he come from or merit?
Merit is a subjective word. How do you create somebody?
Okay, now when you say merit, I mean talking about experience, capacity, understanding of governance, and a whole lot of that.
If you look at our manifestos very well, we want a credible, marketable, experienced, but with relevant credentials, if I may use that word. I think credentials sometimes is a myth, because they're not trying to be a brain surgeon. Neither are they trying to be a university lecturer. They are trying to perform what they call social service. They are trying to generate revenue. So I like business experience, because in order for you to be an effective governor, you cannot rely only on the pie from Abuja. You have to generate revenue in form of IGR. So that's why I said when people were a lawmaker and they are coming and they say they want to be governor, I said, look, what revenue have you generated in your life? What company have you run successfully? So those are the questions we're going to ask these people. It's nice to sit down and be cutting cake. But when you say bake that cake, that's where the rubber made the road.
Okay, so now you really have not answered that question. Is it going to be about where the person come from, about merit?
No, I answered the question. I told you if you look at
maybe I wanted it to more straight.
No, straightforward. We are going to look for somebody that has no baggage, who can be marketable to the rest of the community. We're looking for somebody with relevant experience I've mentioned about private sector experience, people
Correct.
that know how to generate revenue, not just spending money. Because as a governor, you are not going to rely only on allocation. You have to make money to spend for the state. So we're going to need people with relevant experience, relevant credentials, if the credential is school cert in Nigeria, but somebody that has capacity to build things.
Okay. Now, also,
and that have the interest of the people, not only when they need something.
okay, I also like the fact that you mentioned earlier that politics in Nigeria is about the lesser evil. Okay, if all these qualities you have just mentioned, you found in someone who is not of Egba extraction, will you align with that person, or you insist that has to be an Egba man?
Our first and foremost priority is to have an Egba person. And like I've said earlier in my opening statement, we have more than enough Egba person. I've just given you our stream. We have more than enough Egba person that's capable, that has built stuff, that are responsible, that have never gotten their hands soil, that we can present to people and they will say, oh, yeah, I think the man is good. He's not a politician, but he's good. Or he's a politician, but he hasn't gotten his hands soil. So, but see, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But our focus is on our sons and daughters who are here and in the trenches with us, who want to do good for the people.
Some people will argue with you that talking about the interest of the people, it should actually not be placed behind the interest of the Egbas. It should be about the generality of the people. And that's why I take you back to my question that, okay, if at the end of the day, the candidates emerge and you realize that the person who actually represents absolutely what you look out for, right, is in someone who is not of Egba extraction, would you, consider the person, or you will still insist that has to be your person?
Well, we'll get to that road, we'll cross it. Look, like I said, nobody walk alone. If you want to walk far, you walk together. You want to walk fast, you walk alone. So when that time comes, we'll have opportunity to sit down and check all of them. Remember, all these candidates we're talking about, we're still going to have to sit them down. And we're going to ask them questions. Now, the one that refused to answer question, we know he had a hidden agenda. So we are going to get to that point, including anyone from any region. But like I said, we are a movement for our people, Egba people. So that one is uncheckable. That is what we believe in. I don't think we'll fall short of getting a credible Egba person.
You mentioned, or you actually give an analogy of a legislator not having the capacity to generate fund.
No,
I'm just going to say that. Okay, you're actually talking about the fact that there's difference between being a legislator and holding an executive position. Mm-hmm. Am I correct?
In some sense, yeah. I can expatiate if you want me to.
No, that's fine. What I actually where I'm actually taking you to, is that we have also found people who came from the outside, never had any experience in government, and they are in power. One example is Prince Dakwa Abiodun. Will it not also be better off to have someone who has been in the system, whichever way, whether in the legislative or in the executive position, to take charge, as against someone who came from the outside, absolutely, to go into government?
Like one of our political fathers told me before, we are not mind readers. We just look at antecedents. One of the antecedents we look at with Prince Dakwa Abiodun is his private sector experience. And in fairness to him, he brought that to bear in some instances. He might not be able to do the rigmarole of politicking and all that, but he brought that to bear in the amount of investment he has attracted to Ogun State. You can't take that away from him. I go around and look at projects. I see things that he has done in terms of the amount of industry that were not there before that's there now. But, everybody will bring their own experience to bear on the government. I'm not saying the legislators are incapable of running a state. I'm only saying that's a different set of skills. And there are multifactorial skills necessary to run a state. At the core of it is your heart. I believe government is a social service. It's where you provide, like provision of hospital is part of social services. It's not government business to build business that make profit. Provision of school, provision of amenities, helping the poor, helping the sick. Those are social sciences. Those are social services that only people that know social science, that understand society, can actually do that effectively.
Okay. If we look at somebody like Ladi Adebutu from Ijebu and Solomon Olamileko Adiola from Yewa, who of these two candidates, assume that they emerge, who of these two candidates or to these two personalities will pose greatest challenge to Egba Agenda 2027?
Challenge? What do you mean by challenge? Like obstruct us from getting to where we are?
Yeah, who is going to make you work more than you will?
You see, the interesting thing is that none of them is posting any challenge at the moment. The reason being that, there is some news going around that Ladi Adebutu, Honorable Ladi Adebutu, has some roots in Odeda. Odeda is known to be Egba people. So if that is the truth, if it pan out to be true, he has Egba blood in him, right? So there's some rumor going around about the other person you've mentioned, unsubstantiated. If that is true, you can say they've drank some water from here, or their ancestors or whatever. So I don't see them as a threat. And when people look at threat, they're talking about finances. You see, I want you to believe, people have believed that they can use money to do everything. Let me explain.
Go ahead.
Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Let me give you an example. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar had lots of money. He couldn't get the presidency. He has enough to do all this magic. It didn't happen. Our father, MKO Abiola, once put his wife forward in this Egba land for senatorial seat. She didn't get it. And he can literally buy everybody that's involved. So Egba people, Yoruba say, Ile Egba ki yoyo ngba ojo igbe eruni. So don't come here and bragado us with money. We are not poor. Egba people, you know one man called Chief Fola Adeola. He's an Egba man. He literally started a bank. His wife had one. So we are not poor. We just don't throw money around. And money that people work for, they don't throw it around anyhow.
Now, is it deliberate that you tactically choose not to mention his name?
His is what?
I noticed that each time you want to reference Yayi, you say the other man. Is it going to cause you any pain to mention his name?
I don't have anything against the man you are mentioning.
Then you go again.
The problem is...
No, then you go again.
You are making this thing about personality. And I don't want to do it. Sincerely, I want to avoid it. Because it's not about personality. The movement we are talking about is about Egba people.
No, just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. I don't have any intention of personalizing. And you notice that I had to mention Ladi too. I had to mention Yayi. There are still a few others I intend to take you through.
Okay, good.
So I'm not going to personalize it. It's not our style. You understand?
Okay,
so, but yes, you were going to make a point. So let me allow you conclude on that.
Look, let me mention now that you said I'm not somebody that shy away from stuff. The man in question that you called Senator Yayi, Senator Adeola Olamileko, he hasn't told me he's running for office. He hasn't really announced to anybody he's running for office. It's all rumor. I've had people I've sat with that have confessed that they're interested in the position. You understand? But they're not ready. So for me to now cast people out and say somebody's running, that would be counterproductive.
That's fine. Now, let's look at this. I'll go your way. I also heard that Honorable Ladi Adebutu had some link to Egba that you said. Just the same way, Senator Yayi is said to have a link to Egba, right? And we also have the likes of Sharafa Tunji Shora, His Excellency, that you cannot doubt his Egba background. Now, your project, your interest is about Egba man becoming the governor, somebody with Egba blood becoming the governor. Now, if any of these three, emerges as the governor of Ogun State in 2027, will you be satisfied?
Me as a person?
Yes.
Probably. But
the agenda as a group?
I don't dictate for the group. And let me clarify something. See, when you talk about blood, it's above my pay grade. I cannot certify who is an Egba man or who's an Egba woman. It's only the people. You understand? I can't go and do a DNA on somebody say you are an Egba person. There are things that link you intricately with people. I was gone for about 20 years. I came back. Nobody doubted where I came from. Nobody questioned it. My family house is there. My father's grave is there. My cousins are there. And I'm the only child of my mother. But he has sisters that have kids. They know who their uncle is. So all these things, we don't do DNA. We don't trace paternity or maternity in Egba. We just know. Back in the day, our Oba said, if you are in the village, most of our people are in the village. I'm going to school in the village. I'm a village boy. Right? But we have to come home and do Ileya. Every layer, we have to come to Abeokuta. When our people are dead, we have to bury them here. It's an unwritten law. It's there for Egba people. We know where our great-grandparents are buried. Even those that sell their property, they move them somewhere and label. So we have a history that is uncontroversial. Our descent are uncontroversial. Where we came from, who we are, nobody argue about our Egbaness. You know, and what normally say, because some people bastard, but the way they behave, they say, this one is a bastard, it's not an Egba. Why do they say so? Because you don't behave like Egba. We have an anthem that anyway, Tabalo, we put Abeokuta on our heart. Anyway, when Baba go to London or go to Paris, you see the people singing that thing with pride and joyful and dancing. That's what Egba is. Egba does not hide. You don't have to look for an Egba man. They are just there. It's in their blood. You don't have to do a DNA. So I'm not involved in all this. You tracing paternity. It's above my level.
The Alake is a symbol of authority.
Certainly.
The custodian of the tradition, the culture, and the history of Egba. If Alake by tomorrow says, yes, these people, I can attest to the fact that these people are indeed from my kingdom. Will it change anything as far as the group is concerned?
Anything.
The orientation or the belief or the conviction of the drivers of this.
Well, let me help you with that one. I'm an Egba chief. I'm also a Balogun of a town in Egba. Alake would not come out and say that to anybody. Because paramount ruler is not controversial. He would approve anybody's as long as you are for the progress of Egba and Ogun State in general. So he would never, not even when they give him something to drink, he won't do it.
So we should not.
That just close that chapter.
Okay, we should not also hope.
But the Egba people know who Egba people are.
Oh, great. And should we also hope that there will never come a time in the course of this movement where the Alake will come out categorically to say, yes, I'm supporting an Egba man for the government?
No, that I can tell you with authority. It's something that you can't take around Baba because he wake up. You remember something. President Muhammadu Buhari has a chieftaincy title in Egba. Sir Adebutu Kesintin has a chieftaincy title in Egba. Are they Egba people? No. But every president that has contested, or even military, they've always visited Baba in his palace and he will bless them. So he has nothing to do with this one. But in spirit, he's an Egba person. He's not Alake of Iperuremo or Ijeburemo or Ilaro. He's Alake of Egba land. You understand? So, Baba Momo Yomo Tumbi. But that doesn't mean we say, well, no. Many people in their house know who their parents are. They know who their wife who has cheated or the wife has cheated, but they don't say this is bastard. So I'm telling you, as also a custodian of some history in this Egba land, nobody will come out and say this is not our son, this is my son, because we're talking about politics in some instances. Now it's about social cultural movement wanting something, just like some Ijebu people now wanting a Ijebu state. You understand? But you won't see an Alake coming to stand and say, oh, you guys should do this. No. He will always tell you at every fora, we want good road, we want good water, we want good educational system, we want this, because that is what he's supposed to do.
Now, you've been talking about this movement with a whole lot of panache.
Oh, yeah.
And then I tend to wonder where you find your confidence. Where does your confidence lie?
Let me say one thing, and people don't believe this. I don't look back when I'm facing a challenge. This one is something I believe wholeheartedly. We are the largest single ethnic group in Ogun State, right? We've always supported. Prince Akpabio will not be on the seat of power without the support of the Egba. Asking for the same to be done to us now. That now we are asking you, help us to get this done. You see, I refrain from using Egba local. All the fora I go to, I don't use the word Egba local because that's kind of have some arrogant connotation. I'm asking if we are the majority ethnic, sub-ethnic group in Ogun State, and if you always supported Yewa, supported Ijebu, we ask you to support us now. That is why we have movement in every local government of the state.
If Egba
agenda.
If Egba sounds arrogant, will it then be right to say that Mr. President was arrogant when he said Imilokon?
Politicians are arrogant in their nation. That's how they are built. You have to have a little bit of spank on fire in you and said, I'm going to grab this thing. That's why you see some of them, some gladiators, they build this air of invincibility around them. Like, no, they're going to take it. That doesn't mean they're going to succeed. But some people might succeed. But we believe Egba will succeed this time.
If Egba doesn't, what happens?
There's nothing that will happen, but Egba will succeed. Listen, as a majority sub-ethnic group in Ogun State, maybe about 51, 52, I think it's doing good, even if it's 45% among about 3 regions. It's fair for us to be after power for 24 years. Just look at that. Because Prince Dapo, by God's grace, will finish his 8 years. If he goes to somewhere for another 8 years, they're not going to automatically give it to Egba people and say, take it. And they say power is not served a la carte. You have to fight for it, you have to campaign for it, you have to convince other people. And that is the process we have started. You understand? Remember, we are part of the 2 political parties too, and substantial in numbers. So we should be able to use our numbers by educating those who are not well informed about the consequences of how you choose our leaders. That's how we're doing.
If Egba is not comfortable being out of power for 24 years, right?
As a majority sub-ethnic group. Majority, remember that.
It's okay. Then, what do we say of the people who's never been in power since the creation of the state?
What does that mean?
They've never been governor.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah, they've never been governor
like
since
I said,
the creation of the state.
Majority look out for generality. Minority, not so much. It's there everywhere in the world. That's why you have wars. When minority take power, you know what they do? They oppress majority. When majority take power, they perform ubiquitously. They distribute it to everyone because they know they are in every nook and cranny of the state. So that simple analogy should explain what I'm talking about. Well, that's why we cannot be arrogant about it. Majority do not oppress. Minority oppress. Yeah? So that is, it's not even in Nigeria. It's everywhere. When minorities strike power, they oppress to death. Look at what we have right now. We are not in number 1 position, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You see us carrying billboard and protesting. We sat quietly. We voted again for Prince Akpabio. So we are not doing it out of arrogance. At least
at what level? At what level are you talking about? Not number 1 to 5. At what level is it? The federal or the state?
We are talking about states.
Okay, great.
The governor is not from Egba. Deputy is not from Egba. Secretary to the government not from Egba. Finance, head of service, you can name it.
But the speaker is from Egba.
And that is what?
He's number 3 actually in the scheme of things. He's after the governor, is the speaker, and then the chief judge.
Laughing ferociously. The executive control government. The executive control government anywhere in the world. Yes.
So the speaker is also under the control of the governor. Is that what you're saying?
He's not in control of any governor. He's in control of his legislator to make laws. That's all. And he approves or whatever it is that bring to them. That is the job of the legislator. They don't run the government. They are separate arm. They are legislator. They make laws, but they are not the executive that implement laws, implement policies. It's different.
No, okay. So I was expecting that you will see the position of the speaker as a key position that has been given to the Egbas.
given. Okay, did I say it's not key? I'm just telling you, when you look at the hierarchy of people that run the executive arm of government.
Oh, okay. You're limiting it to the executive right now.
Because that's where action takes place. That's who control the level of government in Ogun State.
Really?
You can. I stand to be corrected if it's really.
I just want to be educated further, because that's the man who oversees. Yeah, who make laws and
what else?
And he's the one that will approve the governor's budget and what have you.
Yes.
That's a powerful position.
But he doesn't make the budget though.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Okay.
You want to be where the budget is put together?
That is how things are done. That's how they fix the road. That's how they fix our pipe-borne water. That is how they fix our schools. That is how they fix our hospitals. And when I use the word "our," it means Ogun State. This is the city of power. Is that what most capital look like?
But your son just left after spending 8 years as governor.
And I'm sure you can see the changes when you get there to when he left. So you can answer that question. I mean, yes, it's visible. It's not something you have to start searching for.
Oh.
Yes, it is visible.
I'm not from Ogun State.
Yeah, you live here and you plow our roads. Yes.
Yes, and that road you mentioned will make me take you back to the government of Ogun State under Prince Dapo Abiodun.
Yes, he's done some road projects. He mentioned the other, I think 600 kilometers something. You guys have the data. I don't have it. What attracted me to Prince Dapo Abiodun is what I've told you. He has private sector experience, a business guy, and he talked about the industrialization. I believe government, I know very well, government does not create jobs. But you can create a friendly environment through tax holiday, through some infrastructure, through a lot of things to bring industry into the state. When you bring industry, they start production. When they start production, people have employment. When they have employment, you collect revenue. You understand? So that is my belief as a person from a private sector. I'm a business person.
Right. Chief.
So that one, I bought into that agenda. And you cannot deny the fact that he has industrial corridor all around the state. Some are well funded or well managed than the other. But it is there.
Okay, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to round it up with just this question: how did you get involved in Egba agenda?
Well, sometimes you have conversation. I'm a member of Abeokuta Club. I'm a member of Abeokuta Sport Club. I belong to a lot of local organizations. We talk, we discuss. At that, some of the fora, some like mine came together and said, "Oh, we should do this. We should do this. We should do this, and we need this. We need that." And then, how does it come about? Then we have to form an organization. So we sat down, we had a meeting. Professor Miyaka, incidentally, was part of it, of our first physical meeting. That doesn't mean people don't talk about it, but when we actually put a lever forward and say, okay, we need to do this thing, we gathered, we had like 12 of us. I can only mention people that have put their names out. We had a conversation. That was the day I was elected chairman of the organization. And nobody has sat me down and said I'm no longer the chairman. Neither has anybody said Professor Yemi, okay, who's my brother, has been expelled. I just heard that from you for the first time. There's no communique that we signed that said somebody was expelled, because you cannot expel any Egba person from Egba agenda. It's a spirit, it's a movement. You can kill it. You can tell them you don't want me, I don't want you in my house, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to carry the social Egba. Right? Meetings used to be held in my home. Now we have offices where we hold meetings, and then we have local government offices all around the state. So the way it was conceived, it's possible we have the same vision, and we can have different vision as well, how to get there. I don't think you can sit Professor Yemi down and said he will tell you he doesn't believe in good road, good water, good hospital.
Well, of course, he had
say that. He cannot tell you that he doesn't want an Egba man to be governor. So that's why I said, all this explosion, noise, it's just media sensation. It's not happening.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to cap it up finally with this. The same prof you referenced, I had on a national radio where he said, and convincingly convinced some of some listeners that he has now aligned with the aspiration and the ambition of Senator Olamilekan Adeola Yai. What do you say to that?
That's what they call prerogative. That's his prerogative to align with anybody he wants. That's personal. That does not carry my own prerogative to say I'm aligned with this person. But as a chairman of a group, I cannot align with any of them.
But with him pulling out, aligning with him means that he will tactically pull out of this agenda. Will that not deal a terrible blow on the collective aspiration of you and other promoters of Egba agenda?
All Egba's sons and daughters will come home when the show came to shore.
Chief Mustafa Abdul Hakim Olabi, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you very much for having me.
We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.